I'm warning you right now. This is going to be a very biased review. Okay? If you couldn't tell, if you couldn't tell already, this is going to be a biased review. This is coming from a DC fan who loves everything to do with DC. I saw the Superman movie, so let's talk about it. Let's review it. Let's go over it. Now, I think that this is the best movie that they could have done to guarantee a success. Do I think it could have been better? Yes. But I do think I understand exactly what they did. Because here's the thing for me. This movie was the perfect thing for me to see to be fully on board with the DCU. Now, obviously, I don't think that's going to be the same for everyone else, but I do think this movie is the safest choice in terms of getting people on board, hyped, and ready to go for the new DCU. This movie does everything in characterizing Superman, in setting up the Justice League, and everything in between. This movie does a lot to answer a lot of questions and plays the role of filling that void that people need in order to understand where the DCU stands. Now, to be perfectly clear, I just went to see the Amazon Prime early access screening. So, this movie theater was packed. There was not a single seat available when the movie started. Now, I'm in a state where that's not always common. Obviously, if you're going to be in the big cities, those are sold out. But even in a state that I'm in, even in the theater that I went to, where it's not always the case where it's sold out, it was sold out. Period. The crowd was very reactive to the film the entire time. Laughter, cheers, everything. Almost similar to Endgame, although less active than that, but very similar type of experience. Obviously, it's an early access screening, so people are going to be hyped for this movie. They know what they're getting into, they know what they're signing up for, they know what they're going to watch, and most people are here for that reason. Now, I know that some people are not going to love this movie. And I think those people are, generally speaking, the DCEU fans. Because this movie is exactly what the DCEU films are not. It's humorous, it's lighthearted, it's fun. It's not this big action movie, although there are action scenes. This story takes a different approach, including the action in this movie, but not making it the main focal point. Because the main villain of the story isn't an action-based character. It's Lex Luthor. And Lex Luthor is intelligence. And the theme of this movie is brains versus brawn. Now, it's very interesting because we also have a lot of characters involved in this movie. We have Mr. Terrific. We have Green Lantern, Guy Gardner. We have Hawkgirl. We have a lot of moving parts in this movie. Now, I think this movie successfully showed why Superman needs the Justice League. Because that's always the trick, right? As powerful and as good as Superman is, why would he need the Justice League? And this shows us that answer. The answer is Superman cannot be everywhere all at once. That's exactly why he needs a team like the Justice League. Now, in this movie, we're not using the word Justice League. Not yet, right? We need to get to that point. But this very much lays the groundwork for where I can see the team building. Because the Maxwell Lord team already exists, called the Justice Gang, unofficially. And it's very clear that there's not really a leader on this team. There's not really a drive for this team. Superman is really the driving force, although he's not officially a part of the team. He is friends with them, but he's not on the team. Not really, right? So there's a lot of moving parts in terms of showing us exactly why Superman needs the Justice League, but also showing us why the Justice Gang isn't going to work for Superman. Because Superman has all of these morals, this code, right? The no-kill rules and everything in between. But Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific don't necessarily have those values. They don't necessarily share the same things that he believes in, right? Superman cares about saving every single person, every single living being, every single thing that has a heartbeat. From the squirrels to the robots to anything that may be sentient. He cares about everything in life. Now, the Justice Gang doesn't necessarily have those same views. They do care about human beings, but they don't necessarily care about everything else. And as long as they get the job done, that's all that matters, right? To me, the Justice Gang is very much like the Guardians of the Galaxy in that sense. They're here to save the world. They're not necessarily here to save lives. Superman is here to save lives and saves many throughout this film. And I do think that the conflict is interesting because there's both a external conflict, but there's also an internal conflict. There's a conflict between Lex Luthor and Superman, but there's also conflict between Superman and the Justice Gang, Superman and Lois, and Superman and even the ideas of his parents. I think that this film does a very interesting thing with the Kryptonians. The whole point is that Superman only has half of a message. He doesn't know the other half. He believes in a hopeful message, but he's wrong. And I think that's a very interesting way to take it, because it's kind of very much similar to the My Adventures of Superman in that case. My Adventures with Superman, I should say, in that case, where it's a similar kind of idea. Like, Superman believes in saving people and saving the world, but the Kryptonians don't necessarily believe that. They believe that Earth is inferior and that Earth is just a part of the Kryptonian, they don't necessarily believe in saving Earth. They want to inhabit Earth. Almost like how we want to kind of move to Mars instead of live on Earth. Not we, but, the billionaires and everything. But I think this movie certainly plays it safe. It's safe to the point where I think this is going to go well on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's going to easily get certified and everything. And I think there's going to be some people who don't love the film, but they at least like the film. And I think that's a very smart way to play it. Because the last thing you want to do is for this movie to be very divisive. You want this movie to be as popular as it can be. So you want pretty much anyone who sees this movie to love it. And I think most people seeing this movie will at least like it, if not love it. I, personally, will rank this movie an 8 out of 10. I think that it hit everything that I needed it to make, but I do think it could have been slightly better. I do think there was a lot of moving parts. There was a lot of moving characters. There was a lot of, we weren't really fully introduced to a lot of these characters that were being used. And I think that's to some degree okay. You kind of got the gist of it. But I understand, as someone who might be new to this universe, it might have been too much information all at once, right? Because you're getting to know the Daily Planet crew, you're getting to know the Lex Luthor crew, you're getting to know the Superman crew, you're getting to know everybody. And there's a lot of characters when you break it down. All right, all those posters, all those Superman posters, and I think it's very clear that, yes, as a Superman fan, I can love this film absolutely, but I do think there needed to be a little bit more time to just let the characters breathe a little bit. And I understand the pacing is very tight. It's very on pace. There's not a lot of wasting time. And I think I do appreciate that as well. Because you really don't get bored watching this film. There is no filler. And to some people would say that's a bad thing because you do want some filler in order to get to know the characters, in order for people to get on board with this. But honestly, this movie goes from point A to point B very smoothly, and it transitions very neatly. And I think that this film does a really good job of focusing. And I think James Gunn in general does a very good job at focusing. Because here's the thing, what is more important, the story or the characters? That can be debated, but very much the story. Because the last thing you want is for people to feel the story is too disjointed. This movie was very, I think, well structured. And I think that it really did do the job that it needed to do in order to get all these pieces moving, but maybe not answer all of the questions that you have. I do think there's going to be some people who walk away from this movie a tiny bit confused, mainly to do with a lot of these characters. Like, who is that? Who is this? What is this? What is that? Right? Obviously, I am a very DC heavy fan. I know a lot of the things that happened that maybe some people didn't pick up on. I know a lot of the groundwork that was being set up that I think some people maybe didn't, catch on. Like the whole idea of the Hall of Justice being a tourist attraction, really, rather than a home base. And I think, in general, the idea of the Hall of Justice being there already pretty much guarantees that we're going to get the Watchtower. Look, I could talk about this movie for hours, but I realized that I don't have hours to talk about this movie. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up this review. It's a positive review. And I will be doing a TikTok live, I think maybe tomorrow or something, where I just go on and talk about everything. Everything. There's a lot to talk about. So I do want to cover it. I do want to cover it before this weekend because I'm going to be very busy this weekend. But I'm going to be talking about it on TikTok Live. And then I'm going to be posting that TikTok Live onto YouTube. So it's going to be the full thing. We're going to go all in talking about Superman, about what this movie means, about what this movie sets up, talking about everything in between. So stay tuned for that. And I will see you next time. Let me know what you think of this movie in the comments, and let's talk about it.